Okay. There's a very clear game plan. Whether call it desperation, call it genius 5-head strategies. Only time will tell as IG are burning this Otacon down. However, BLG are on the way. It's at 3,000 HP. There's no jungler around as Beishuan will not be able to get a steal. But now the fight can ensue in earnest. The Shy does not land the public execution. Rookie in some trouble on the wrong side of things. Elk, though, getting collapsed upon by the Shy and away. But Gala gets the first kill back on the On. It's a 1-for-1 with both supports going down. Now IG just looking to retreat. Knight throws out the Winds of War. Gala still posturing very aggressively. But Beishuan is hunting. He has his ultimate coming up soon, but is unable to find an angle onto Invictus Gaming. So they're able to get the Otacon and only go 1-for-1 in terms of kills.
Okay, let's take a look at the experience differentials right now because top lane is even, mid lane is even, all of these lanes are even, but the jungle is still massive in terms of the gap. Beishuan is going to have level 14 in one more camp. Absolutely incredible masterclass from him, and even the Axiom Arc giving him a little bit more ability haste around that ultimate. This is a nice pull from IG. Obviously, again, the big part of Otacon is that experience and the adaptive force that you get access to. But these were summoner spells that were lost. No flash for Gala during this fight, and they do lose out on at least one member here. It is a worthwhile trade. Mako's the only one that goes down. Can IG actually battle back from this massive gold deficit that they faced all game long?
Yeah, I mean, they get the objective, but it's still a 6K gold lead in favor of Bilibili Gaming, and so a lot more left to do if you are IG, but that is a good start. Remember, this is a team that is able to utilize their tactics, the experience levels to find angles out of seemingly nothing, and that was one of them right there, but still, a lot more for them to do. A lot more gold that they have to get into their carries' pockets before they have any chance of winning a full 5-0.
They have small goal differentials, but like, look at the kills on this team, right? Like, cool, you're 20 CS up as Gala, but enemy 80 carries 3-0 and 3, so somehow you're down 200 gold. Cool, we have an 8 CS lead in mid, but we're playing Annie. We haven't even finished our second items here, and Knight is going full AP Galio in this matchup. Like, he's just gonna utilize the magic shield that you get from the Shield of Durand, and I think the usefulness or the utility of these BLG champions, if you're not at a gold deficit, is going to feel so much worse.
And I mean, not to mention, Beishuan 3,500 gold. That's a third item with the Edge of Night getting picked up. Wei has Triforce and Scrap at this point. That is the difference in terms of the jungle power at this point.
This is what he gets for not taking his red buff at level 1, bro. This is just like, this is absolute punishment at 5 minutes.
I mean, the way things work is it just snowballed from there. And now you can see Beishuan completely owns all of the jungle of IG, meaning that Wei is not even able to use any of the comeback XP that is now in the game because he didn't even get any of his camps.
Oh my god, Beishuan is just devouring his jungle.
He's gonna Flame Horizon him.
He literally has 4 levels, and that is thanks to Otacon. Are we gonna get a jungle Flame Horizon? We haven't seen this in a long time. This year, we've seen like I think 3 or 4 games have 20,000 gold differentials between teams. I don't think I've seen a jungle Flame Horizon.
Normally when it's like an Ivern or something that you're doing at the beginning, somebody who doesn't
exactly.
too much. The Wukong definitely enjoys the income, and you can see here Beishuan very much enjoying that extra cash. Gets hit by the feathers or the blade collar of Gala and still is able to survive. Now we see BLG hitting this top bottom lane 2-2 turret. There's got a ton to fight for with the dragon not available for another 3 minutes, so just little siege opportunities here and there, picking up waves and really I guess waiting for these major picks to spawn to take that next step in this thing.
We've got 3 grubs, we've got a gold lead. Let's invite the enemy team to fight us as BLG. Galio is going to be able to clear this mid wave. They can control all of this bottom side jungle. You see that IG, there's no wave for them to get because they have to catch mid wave very shallow on their side of the map. That top wave essentially is not real until it hits the turret. They cannot overextend without losing either portions of the map or maybe a body.
Oh, On tried to go for a play with that flash pulverized combo but did not find a knockup. Instead, is forcing IG back, taking that tier 2, getting the little things here in this second game. Take things very slowly to make sure things are in a good spot. Take a look here.
Let him hit the minions.
100 CS lead for Beishuan now.
Wow.
I mean, that's very impressive, especially for a jungler.
Socials team, clip it and chip it, boys. Let's see it. I want to see Flame Horizon in the jungle. 4,500 gold here. An impressive start here in this series, one where if BLG can beat up on IG in this one, they go up further into the upper finals. They're going to be facing off against the winner of Top Esports and Weibo. a matchup I did not think that we would be seeing already here in the bracket, but, you know, and that means that they would be one step away from getting back into the finals and trying to get their revenge after what happened in Split 2.
For BLG, you know, making it to the finals gives you a really good chance to just lock up a world spot immediately, just depending on how the rest of the championship points fall as well. You know, for as much of the ups and downs, the roller coaster season it's been for them, they are so close to making it back to the international stage if they can keep things up. BLG looking very good, and if this is again the form that they're going to be at, frightening for the rest of the LPL and even for the other teams looking internationally at this point. But of course, going to have to keep up that level of play as we go throughout the end of 2025. And then also the end of this game, as IG kind of have been turtled into their own base for the past 5 minutes. They're going to have to try to get out there soon, knowing that the Baron is up and now ready for basically BLG to pull whenever they want.
Yeah, but they can't ever move, right? Like, Mako doesn't even have teleport. They can't walk into Fog of War. There's no way. We talked about where the waves are. It is so difficult for IG to ever get farm, because if they overextend, well, guess what? There's a Kaisa flying in from the other side of the map, a Galio as well. Mako's going to use his redemption to check out this Baron, but this is a freebie going over to
it's already gone. The question is now, can they try to fight off? The Tempered Fate lands onto 2 players, but I don't know if IG want the smoke at this point. They're going to try to go for it anyway, as Bejuan in severe danger, but the supreme display of talent will take down Wei and make sure that the Kiana will survive. Public interest from the Shy does not connect. Taunt coming out from Knife, but not going to find anybody. And here comes Elk with the killer instinct. He flashes away from the Blade Caller, and it's going to be an easy ace picked up for BLG. The Baron and all 5 will result in a Game 2 win for them.
Where are we teleporting to? We're going to push on 2 waves. I think with the decision-making here from BLG, they cannot end this game here. Long death timers, yes, but do they just walk it down? Then why did we teleport to the top wave, guys? We could have just ended through mid.
We'll see if that is the decision they try to go for.
Okay.
The Soul Laners now realizing, hey, there's some exposed Nexus turrets and there is a match point in our sights. Only Wei is alive, but he is now 5 levels down to the might of Bejuan, the jungler for BLG, who hard carries his team to a Game 2 victory.
Wow. Breakneck pace. It is 3:35. We started this broadcast an hour and a half ago. We are already here at match point. We said this for BLG versus JDG. I want to hold out hope. At least in the JDG series, we came in saying, okay, after Game 2, there have been holes in JDG's gameplay. It is possible. I think from what we have seen here tonight, there might not be enough time here in this series for IG. I give them maybe 1 game from here on out, but it has to be a convincing one at that, because now we're in best of 1 territories from here on out tonight.
Just super clean League of Legends these past 2 games here for BLG. Again, not something that we've been super used to seeing from them. Obviously, they are a team known for getting off the early leads, but then not being able to maybe close some of those out. They've been able to close these 2 games out very, very easily, and it's just the amount of firepower that they bring to the table in this early to mid game, just crushing IG before they have a chance to utilize their late game strategies that they have become so accustomed to doing against the other teams that exist here in the LPL.
They're not even getting to late games, right? Like, BLG are just slamming them early on, and this is a strategy we've seen from them time and time again. You go back to even BLG of 2023 when they had Shun, they were tower diving like demons with Yagao, and they had Shun playing Kindred Nidalee, and with Elkanon, they got to start off every game with like a 1,500 gold lead because their enemy bot lane basically lost their wave at level 3. 2024, same thing happens, but now we have Knight, and we're slamming every single lane. Now, like, we're doing this with Bejuan, and Bejuan, I feel, is getting a much more of an extended leash than we have seen from any of the jungles that we've gotten from BLG in recent past. I mean, it is like, when you're on BLG, you have Knight as your mid laner, you have Bin as your top laner, you are saying, yes sir, I will play Sejuani, Maokai, and Vi. Yes sir, I will play Wukong. We're getting Kiana games, we're getting Morgana games, a little bit more trust going over to the new, not a new player, but a player that we've seen in and out of the roster so far this year.
I feel like, you know, for Bejuan, I mean, you even think of a player like Cream, right, who is a part of different iterations of rosters in the LPL, but never on top contending teams until he got to TS, and now he's kind of still a newer player on that level of a team. That to me is what Bejuan is looking like right now here for BLG, really starting to unleash himself and develop in new ways with all these superstars that he is surrounded by, and now no longer gated by just being the jungler for Knight, the jungler for Bin. He is now Beishuan, right? He is now somebody who can make a name for himself here in this league. He's able to keep up this level of play, and this is, you know, a different Beishuan than even we saw on Thunder Talk, where they had some success with him on the roster in Split 1, you know, going to top 8. Even a different look from that here in this series so far.
I would definitely agree. BLG is definitely a different caliber of team from Thunder Talk. I'm glad we're in alignment on that one.
No, but in terms of you know, the carry threat and you know, the leadership and the style that Beishuan is playing with, when he was forced to be the big playmaker on TT versus, you know, being maybe a secondary person on BLG at the start.
Oh yeah,
this is.
I'm obviously busting your chops. We're having a little bit of fun here. I mean, this series has not led for a lot of analysis, to be honest. Like, I get to have the first 5 minutes of the game, and then everything after that is just watching a gold lead get slammed against someone's head for the next 20. So, I'm glad that we're getting more competitive games from BLG, because this team can be scary. And there's been so many times throughout this year where we're like, okay, we're starting to believe this team. Remember their run in Split 2? We were like, okay, damn, this team looks good. Like, they could potentially take it all. Obviously, AL were still top dogs at that time, but if there was ever a team to really take them, it felt like it was going to be BLG, and maybe they were just taking a little bit of a hiatus after MSI. Maybe that MSI hangover really extended all the way until the end of the regular season, but they're playing so much better. That JDG series may be waking them up and giving them that fire of encouragement that they needed to step back into form.
You know, this again is what BLG continue to look like as we go throughout the playoffs. The landscape of the LPL flipped upon its head. I feel like, again, we had different expectations based off of what we saw in the regular season about what the playoff teams are going to look like. You know, top esports at the top, maybe IG looking, you know, maybe shortly after that. But now with BLG performing in this series, we saw AL get sent to the lower bracket already. Who knows what the rest of the playoff bracket does have in store? As, you know, we see these highlights, there's not a lot to talk about. It's just BLG winning, BLG winning, BLG winning. What do IG have to do to even start conversations about a reverse sweep? I mean, it has to start with the early game, because they're building comps set for late games, but they're not getting to that point in any of them so far.
It feels like a combination, and this is going to be the ultimate cop-out, because I think the drafts from IG have been getting pretty handily countered in a lot of situations. I mean, we look at these first two, we've talked a lot about what happened in game number 1, but this game number 2, we're getting Mako off of these really comfortable support champions that we've seen from him, and a large focus going into the ban strategy up against this team. This has been the most prep I've seen from BLG all year long when it comes to their drafts. The fact that we're cutting Mako out, we're getting the Alistar early, then second phase we're banning Nautilus, we're banning the Alistar and the Rakan, we're getting Poppy away from him as well, we're putting him on the Bard in this game. Like, this really feels like this is the BLG that we've been promised for so many years, where it's not just the players now hand-stiffing their opponents, we're also getting the coaching staff actually pulling their weight and providing them playable game states for the team.
Hey, they've had a lot of time to prep for the presumptive matchup against IG, and a lot of tape to go back and look at, because these two teams have faced off against each other quite a lot over the past couple of weeks, and, you know, even dating back to Split number 2. Taking a look at our MVP for this game, no surprise here, it is Beishuan on the Kiana ends 5,500 gold ahead of Wei.
That is incredible, by the way. He has 2 MVP counts, and they're both from playoffs, because he missed all of Split 3. That's the most impressive part. He was gone this entire split.
And now just racking them up here, 1 in each series so far, maybe some more to come as we go throughout the rest of this playoffs, rest of this series even, with BLG now being at match point. But they know best. A reverse sweep always starts with your opponents feeling maybe a little bit too overconfident. That's what IG are going to have to tap into here if they want to start the near impossible journey, seemingly, of trying to take down this BLG team, which is looking like an all-new, different beast heading into this upper bracket semifinals. We'll be back in a few short minutes on LPL English with game number 3 between IG and BLG. Welcome back, everybody, to LPL English. You know, like, when I first logged on, put my headphones on, started thinking about this series, I thought, hey, maybe it'd be a quick 3-0 for Invictus Gaming, who have looked like such a dominant team all split long. But now it's BLG on the verge of a sweep. 2 games to nothing, and neither have been particularly close up against IG.
Well, you're getting a dream. You wanted to get a quick night. You were on last night. You have 4 games. You're on the second series as well after a 5-game. I was like, okay, let's get you right back to bed. But it has gone not necessarily to expectation as you were kind of leading up there. BLG have been incredibly dominant, back to their old selves that we were looking at coming off of 2024. And this is probably the right time for them to do it. I know that we haven't really talked about it too much, but in terms of regional qualifier points, if they're here to win today, they will immediately put themselves at the very least in contention for upper bracket of the regional finals. And you look at the points that they have the most points now overlapping anyone's legend. They could potentially move themselves to being that second seed if they don't outright win the split.
Yeah, I mean, because AL are now in the lower bracket, BLG just would lock themselves top 3 with the series win here. That's, what, 80 championship points already? The number of points that stack up in terms of the differences between split 1 to 2 to 3 kind of grow nearly exponentially. So it's going to be very, very hard for anybody to catch BLG because of their split 2 and what could be their split 3 performance if they're able to close this one out. But hey, you got to get to 3. That's the most important part of a best of 5. It's not, you know, who's looked the best in the first 2 games. It's who wins 3 first. And IG still have the opportunity to accomplish that goal, although now it's a much taller task than even what we thought it was going to be going into the day.
I really want to thank the LPL community again for even making this opportunity possible, but going on Twitter in between the games, seeing that Beichuan, previously a really close friend before they went pro with another player, Beifeng, who originally actually was on OMG's lineup for a little bit of time. He's a really big Kiana player, even old school, kind of going back into the LPL. So as players who were friends from school, they both were dueling on the super server. They both lived with each other. I think it is quite poetic that he gets to bring out Kiana for one of his best friends and hopefully even kind of maybe show that he got a little bit of that skill rubbed off onto him.
Hey, yeah, maybe just sitting in call, watching some solo queue VODs or something of, you know, just some Kiana gameplay results in good wins. Obviously not going to be available for the remainder of this series. We are in that true fearless format, but always a fun story here. There's always different areas where you can learn and grow as a player, even if you're not getting competitive games here on the LPL stage. And that's something that Beichuan did not get the opportunity to do, whether it was due to injury or just competitive decisions by BLG's management. And so now, swapped back in after the JDG game number 1. It's looked very, very good so far in his first 5 games back, and now has the opportunity to really put a stranglehold over that starting position, as well as just helping BLG reach new heights as an organization this season.
Really quickly before we get into draft, we look at the history of 2025 between these 2 teams. Split 2, both in the regular season, both BLG wins. Look at Split 2 playoffs, both wins in both sides of the bracket that they played against. The only wins that IG have found against this team in series were in Split 3 regular season. Seems like all but a formality here. IG back again on the blue side. It is going to be that Nico that stays on the ban table, the Ziggs as well. Is Azir going to finally get through? And what champions are Mako really going to have access to, as we've seen throughout this series?
It's very interesting to see BLG's strategy, specifically the bottom lane champions. Kaisa, Alistar, Yunara, all picks that, you know, Agala and Mako would love to have, the Leona as well. So just a very... Now it's a situation where IG kind of scrambling here in this fearless format, and not only for this game, but for potentially 2 more after that if they want to have a chance to win this series. BLG already doing a nice job to hamper what IG could potentially go for here in picks and bans. You know, Kali ban away from Knight. They don't want him styling on that one in game number 3. He's had a great series overall. The mid jungle for BLG, the big difference maker so far throughout the first 2 games.
All right, Sivir to me kind of screams that we want to play a little bit different of a composition, maybe get some of that Varus, maybe play a Lucian game here. Akali, though, this does mean that either Talia or Orianna are going to be the first picks here for IG in my mind. Just trying to get Rookie a comfortable matchup. I think also getting rid of the Akali makes that a little bit more reasonable. It's the Azir finally. Okay, so we did ask for it, did not get banned here, so what is going to be Knight's counter pick. There's no Ziggs anymore, and there are still a few control mages you can look towards.
Talia, always an option here against the Azir. Pantheon actually completely through this first phase of bans as well. Could be something that Beishwan wants to lock in on this first rotation for BLG. There it is. You know, we've seen Beishwan on some of these heavy skirmishers already here in this series. We've got the Jarvan in game 1, the Kiana in game 2. Going to stick to a similar theme, something that can scrap and have a really powerful ultimate ability later in the game.
Thank you for playing Kiana game 2. Back onto Pantheon. There you go.
Not Sejuani, right? You'll take it.
It's not Sejuani, that is true. You actually get to skirmish the enemy jungler as Pantheon. Oh, we're getting lane. Are we going to get the lane dominant version of BLG? Are we just going to play Caitlyn Elise? No, we're going to play something a little bit different. It's going to be MF. I haven't been the biggest fan of this champion, and I think also the LPL community has also had mixed feelings on this champ. Still has some lockdown, and hopefully the range of the bullet time does give them some ability to play in team fights. We'll see how the rest of the draft kind of makes out for this guy.
Base AD buffs on 25-17-2 just to add a little bit of extra firepower, especially in the early game. We'll see if that can help Elk at all in this one, but you know, someone that doesn't get affected too much by bullet time is a tank, and so that's going to be a Scion locked in for the Shy. Not necessarily the hard carry style that we have traditionally seen from him, but IG just going for very standard picks and bans, want to go, I think, more on the safe side, late game team fighting, which again, we'll see if it ends up working for them, because honestly, the way that it's been going, late games haven't really been happening in this series so far.
I think this is a disgusting Gwen angle. Gwen has been a champion that has been omega. It's one of the most banned champions versus BLG. Imagine that IG are going to probably look towards getting rid of that champion in the second phase of draft if it's not immediately snapped up here. You see that BLG do want to just try to lock down that mid lane matchup. They do not want to give over something like an Orianna or a Talia to make it all the way to the second phase or even get banned by IG. I wouldn't like the Victor. I think it's a little too short range and you don't get through these tanks as early on. Talia still has that same problem, but I will say having the ability to make map plays was a problem for BLG in the regular season, and hopefully they can do a little bit more here in this game as they are hyper mobile with these three champions. The ultimates and then Miss Fortune's natural MS that she gets from her strut.
It's going to have a nice composition set up for BLG where, you know, if you pick up, you could very easily pick somebody off on a side lane and make sure you don't have to play full 5v5s, which is seemingly the direction that IG want to go with the way their composition around the top side of the map has been set up. As we head into the second phase of bans, Braum banned away from Mako to make sure that he cannot block that bullet time. That's another nice you know, angle to go for them. IG's bottom lane getting left for last two picks here. What do you think they want to go for? I feel like a lot of the main AD carries that we've liked to see out of Gala have been either banned or picked away.
You have Ezreal that's available. I imagine that BLG are going to maybe be looking towards it. It's not bad into the MF, especially with just being able to poke. IG have a lot of range already kind of built into their composition because they have an Azir. You have these really tanky front lines in the Skarner and the Scion, so I imagine that an Ezreal would be nice. This could also be a composition where you're looking to play Jhin as well. Just make sure you can try to poke and prod at your opponent. Scion, or the Aatrox and Mordekaiser, really forcing the opponent's hand here. Could also still be Jax, honestly, for BLG. Would mean that they're rather short-ranged, but the ability to play on sides and the Counter-Strike could be really, really influential.
I mean, the thing you mentioned at the start, the Gwen, still available for ban if he wants to select it here on R5. We'll just wait to see what the rest of the composition for IG does end up looking like. The Jhin, I think, should be okay with Rookie having a lot of damage on this Azir pick and just being able to add a little bit of lockdown that can, you know, synergize well with what Wei and the Shy already have to offer. See what exactly the final pickup is. Rakan finally left through the ban phase, which means that Mako will now get his hands on it.
Okay. Mako does play very, very well on this Rakan with the front line that he has, because it means that he can suddenly, with Battle Dance, leap from halfway across the screen and join his front line, not only peeling with the Grand Entrance, but maybe making something happen with that quickness as well. So what this last champion is going to be, obviously waiting, giving Gala a little bit more time here. Still going to end up being that Jhin, so 2v2 might not be as prominent, but Jhin can really start to fight early, and if we're talking about range, they might just be playing with house money. I don't like that hover from on. Let's just get the Gwen, put the Gwen in the bag, And let's get ourselves a really strong composition from BLG that is going to win as we get further in.
You know, the Mordekaiser and the Aatrox maybe can do a little better in the laning phase against Sion, but Gwen does just fine. You'll be able to get some nice CS advantages and then just rip apart the front line of IG as you get later on into this game. BLG have themselves a fascinating but very powerful team composition that has opened up. Composition that you might have seen back at start of Split 2, just in terms of some of the high priority picks at the time. And all of them still kind of being prevalent in the meta right now. You have the semi-globals that are fully available in that mid-jungle. I'm really keeping my eye on Beishuan and Knight because they have been the difference makers in this series for me that have resulted in BLG going up 2-0, and they have all the tools in the world to try to make this a sweep.
And Rookie has not looked as good on the Azir all year long. He's has a negative win rate on it despite his, I think, legendary career preceding him. This is another composition, Grapes, where early on, I think BLG have a lot of ways that they can play. Scaling-wise, that Gwen is going to be a big nightmare, but it does come down to Knight and Rookie. Can Rookie take advantage of this Azir and hopefully pilot the Emperor of Shurima to the first game victory in this series for IG?
No time like now, otherwise you're down to the lower bracket a lot quicker than maybe you originally expected. Invictus Gaming, it's been such a smooth road for them up to this point. Even the only team to take a 3-0 sweep in the first round of the playoffs, but now getting tested mightily by Billy Gaming, who have just over the past 3 years been such a dominant force in the LPL. We'll see if they can close things out in the sweep here, or if IG have a little bit more to say left in this series.
And IG, I got a word with you, okay? If we're not gonna do it for us, if we're not gonna win with any kind of spirit or heart, we're just gonna lose all these early games to BLG. Do it for the kids, man. There are kids in the audience here that are quote-unquote sponsoring your team for today. This is supposed to be a school versus school battle. This is supposed to be two elementary schools. There's kids in the audience here rooting for you.
They made that awesome logo for you on the top left corner of your screen.
Yeah.
I mean, look at all the beautiful colors.
There's like a little trophy in there as well to represent their trophy. I love it. It's beautiful. Yeah, we were talking about this in the break in between games. Producer Rare Adam was going
barely league gaming.
Yeah. Longest game of the split for Split 3 was that BLG AL series that we kind of talked about earlier. And so far, we've had 55 minutes of in-game time already. BLG starting to blitz through this series. Junglers are starting on the top side of the map, so maybe we might see some early action here, especially with a Rel in Misfortune.
We barely have been league gaming here in this series so far. I do want to try to change that narrative, and it starts with a good early game in this one. And obviously, the champions scale on their side, but make sure that you're in a good position to start things off. You already see those heals being burned early as level 2 is now hit by Mako. Early flash from It's going to be flashed by Mako as well. Get himself away from that Q stun. IG though still controlling the bottom lane. That's a good sign for them.
Exactly. IG just using this range. Elkanon already half HP, having burned through those pots. And IG, they're still sitting. They've got another 3 biscuits coming on through for this bottom lane. And for the most part, it's going to be fine. There's not too much action, especially in the mid lane. Rookie should just be able to farm very safely, and it's up to Knight to, in the early game, try to push Azir around, push his mana bar early on. So we'll see what Knight can do up against his opponent.
Get the first 3 waves in and heads back to base. Hey, quick reminder once again, kind of at a slower point in this game. The LPL English broadcast is brought to you by Codif.gg. You can use the code LPL10 at Codif.gg to review your game. Get high-level coaching from the best of the best in the ERLs, the NACL, and even the LTA North. Use the code again, LPL10, link in the chat as well. Big thanks to Codif for sponsoring us here on LPL.
We've done it, Grapes. Maybe Danny said something over on IG. We've taken the red buff before 5 minutes.
Do it. It's a better start than game number 1. A full clear 4-way. Round of applause to everybody. No shenanigans with the counter jungling. We're going to get a Crab here as well. As
Double Crab maybe?
One, who goes for the early gank, just forcing a cleanse out of Gala. That means that now Worm's going to have the tempo here in the early game.
Gwen is pushing on top side, probably just going to TP back into this lane. I wouldn't be surprised if IG opt to go for a swap. You have a Scion on your team. MF is making the recall as well. Mako's going to try and stop this. This is really good for IG's tempo. Being able to stop this swap also forces Bin to teleport into that top side. And BLG are probably going to have to catch another wave, which means that they will not be able to reset first.
Teleport comes up from the top side for the Shy, so they want to
Rookie,
hold the
please
lane
don't do
states
this.
right now as Rookie going to be in a lot of trouble. There goes that threaded volley, and there goes that man Knight with a solo kill once again.
3 games, 3 solo kills. Knight is just absolutely gapping the living hell out of Rookie in this series. What a disgusting display of talent coming in from one of the most legendary players on both sides of the rift here. But yet again, getting solo killed as Azira is honestly kind of mind-boggling to me. Like, you have all this range, you should not be getting this. The matchup shouldn't be going like this.
But that's just what Knight's been able to do here in the LPL this season, in the LPL this playoffs. As Rookie, our featured matchup, by the way, does not hold a candle what Knight's had to offer here today.
Rookie has not had a very strong 2025. If we're being completely honest, we look at the stats that we saw in the head-to-head. We also look at just how his level of play has been looking throughout the year, and it hasn't been the most solid. Even in that EDG series, felt like he was a little behind the curve.
The Shy doesn't flash away from the snip, and Bin is able to get a solo kill of his own. The solo laners for BLG out firing in this third game.
Okay. The Gwen matchup is good, but it's not supposed to be this good. Like, what? I don't know what to tell everybody. This is just BLG outhandsing their opponents, and the solo lanes for IG collapsing here in this series. Not a thought that we thought was going to be occurring, but now we live in a reality. This is the game state that we have now, where both of IG's lanes have been solo killed with no jungle intervention whatsoever. This, I thought Bin was not going to find this kill. I was even saying it. I talked over you. I'm sorry, Grapes. This should have been your call. But Bin gets level 6 in the middle of this wave and then just lets it rip. There's another fight maybe in the mid, picture-in-picture. Nope. LPL observers, they trust this replay.
I mean, the Shy just the flash at third proc at the end of the time. But he doesn't do that. He tanks the damage and then yeah, he's just gone. So not the best start here for IG, and they're going to maybe get punished again as Rookie without a flash in severe danger once more. Already has used the Emperor's Divide. It's going to go down to the hands of On this time, as that's the Feats of Warfare picked up before the 7-minute mark, and they might look for a 4th as well. Nice Discall's impact back under the tier 3 turret, but it's going to be Beishuan still getting the kill. Finally, Wei will get one back, as it is the jungler for BLG down. On going to be able to flee successfully, but still it is BLG controlling Summoner's Rift.
Okay, do we FF? Like, I wouldn't say that that's possible, where we're going to actually see what exactly happened. We're just getting stuck in replays now. As the picture-in-picture, we had it, and now it's gone. So that was Rookie trying to see that, hey, Knight doesn't have flash. I'm going to use my ultimate, but he comes back to lane. He's died twice before the 8-minute mark. And I love what we got in that fight where On flashes over Mako's engage to stop him, grabs Rookie, and then the entire play kind of falls out as we saw. So now it's not a gold, it's not a CS advantage in mid, but it is one in top lane. And now it's a gold advantage as well, appearing for Knight. An amazing early start here for BLG here in this game number 3.
Yeah, IG's done a nice job to equalize the gold in certain areas, particularly towards the bottom lane where Gala and Mako have had a nice opportunity to at least pick up a little bit of farm, but not really going to matter too much because of the fact that BLG has all the gold in all the right places. Knight and Bin are going to be absolute monsters we can progress throughout this game. As IG get one grub, and it might come at the cost of a whole lot of kills. Decimating Smash not going to find anything. The Impale, though, going to find Beishuan. He goes too far and will get taken down. But the bullet time has been popped by Elk, forced to flash away from both the Shy and Wei. And Knight still has a full load of spells to use. Not going to find Mako, not going to find Gala. And now BLG stuck underneath this turret. The curtain call is just going to stall things out as IG will all survive.
Beitron's gonna come back to the scene of the crime. Grapes, that was 4 flashes from Invictus Gaming. The teleport invested there by Knight. He tried to make something happen. There's no Weaver's Wall, but I love how we're seeing BLG walk through the map. Knight had deployed into bot side, fought that wave. It is Rookie who is now going to get at least 2 plates for himself, so gets a bit of an advantage. And nobody dying there for IG is literally the best case scenario.
Oh,
and they get 2 grubs. Okay. All right, IG.
Hold on, Ulk.
The early game has been good, but it's resolving. It's making good.
Somehow, IG is still in this one. Honestly, this is one of the closer early games that we've seen, even though we thought it was going to go bad to worse. But IG very nicely picking up some kills on the back half of things to salvage this early game. Again, they have the scaling to really make things happen. If we can get to that point, that's always been the big if in this series. BLG have not let them have it so far, but now IG will be in a good position to do so as they caught out on. He has to crash down over the wall. He'll be able to survive. But now IG going to continue the push here. And another slow. Here comes the quickness. Knockup's going to connect on. Just trying to stall up the rest of his team. He's still able to survive as Knight uses the seismic shove to stun away 2 members of IG.
Does this mean that IG can actually start up the Dragon? Elk walks way too far. What is his positioning? We are rather aggressive. No flash from Beitron, but he does have the ultimate. And Elk is going to have that bullet time coming up in a few moments. IG, let's just start up the Dragon. They cannot contest you on this objective. They have to be able to catch bottom wave and this mid wave.
Way going forward again. He has his ultimate, maybe looking for Knight. Deadly Flourish connects onto Talia, followed up by the Impale. But Knight's crash down comes through from On, and Wei will die first in the fight. Exhaust lands onto Elk. He flashes and uses the bullet time, but it won't be able to find a kill, as the Spear does not find Mako either. He uses the Grand Exit to get away, and so far all of IG still up and running, and the health bars are dangerously low on BLG's side. Curtain Call going to find 2 members, as Rookie will claim base 1 as well. IG right back into this game 3.
Okay, finally, we have some gaming going on here from IG, able to finally get a skirmish that goes their way. A kill for Rookie, kills for Gala. I think not a bad trade overall, but a messy one at that, and maybe BLG playing a little too fast. We have seen them in this series, they've been able to get away with it, but here in this 3rd game, not enough buttons for you to play with, and I love the start for this, especially how BLG were able to not only segment this fight, but maybe even stall out and give themselves ways to play. But after we get to this point, this is where it's just too far. We've missed out on the engage from On. There's nothing here from Beitron, and this just turns into free gold, and honestly, free time for IG to play.
And I was a little bit hesitant about IG going for that fight, just because they didn't have their 1-item spikes at all, and there's a competition that likes to scale, but credit to them, they played that out really well. Gala really understanding his limits on this Jhin, knowing that he can step forward, knowing where he can pop that Curtain Call and just force all of BLG back, and he never got hit by any significant spells and was really able to carry that last fight alongside Rookie. However, the Dragon was not taken by either side, so BLG come right back towards it and forced IG to try to fight again.
Not enough buttons here from IG. They're gonna have that Emperor's Divide now coming on through. There's no ultimate for Gala. Bin can't even TP. This is gonna be a straight-on 4v5, but they don't have position here from IG. They need to not only fix the mid wave, but also allow for Rookie to properly set up as this is here. Come back up now. The Emperor's Divide is here. Curtain Call in 10 seconds. Nice Weaver's Wall from Knight's going to separate Wei from the rest of his team and allow for BLG to take him down. Dragon gets reset, but it's already 1 kill into the hands of Billy as the Curtain Call is now here to try to slow down the rest of BLG. Make sure that they are not going to be able to save their mid laner as Knight will get taken down. On goes for the Magnet Storm, but Mako will flash away beautifully as Rookie will get on the board as well. 2-0 for IG, and they're not even able to prevent BLG from getting that Dragon. This is way too many mistakes coming in from Billy. Azir's gonna catch this bottom lane wave. It's another mid wave caught here by Gala and Mako. Huge mistakes from BLG that are making it much harder for them to play. They had such an explosive starter to this. And while Wei is sacrificed, they just don't have enough damage for this fight. I mean, we talked about from draft that with the misfortune, you should be able to at least pick off one member with the bullet time, and we see that here in this fight. But there is not enough lockdown, and I think the target acquisition from this game, or from these last couple fights from BLG, just not great. We see another situation where at least one member, last time it was Elk, now it's Knight, separated from the rest of the squad.
So not the same level of coordination in that early to mid game from BLG like we see from them. And hey, IG bringing a little bit of the hands this time around to these objective fights. It was first around the grubs, then around that first dragon, which still hasn't been taken, by the way. BLG thought they were going to have the opportunity to finish that one off, but IG forced them all the way off of it. And so we could just see a return to the scenes of crime once more for these teams.
Danny had a discussion with Wei where he said, you cannot let the red buff not be taken for the first 5 minutes of the game. For Dragon, it could sit there for 15 for all I care, but make sure you are cycling your camps. As a jungler, you must be able to get that. It's how you stay up in levels. It's how you're able to stay competitive in the game, especially as a role that eventually loses access to gold, depending on if you're winning or losing, and if your teammates are also taking your camps. So, very, very important.
And look, Wei's actually even in CS to Beishwan at this point of the game. The past 2 times around, is Beishwan with a significant farm advantage compared to his opposition. So Wei understanding the assignment just a little bit better this time around. As the Dragon is now still going to be the topic of conversation. BLG the ones to start it off, but the big jungle of IG is right back here to try to defend.
There is a Weaver's Wall available. Oh my.
6 HP! And it's going to be Wei to steal it away. He will go down as this response, but Beishwan misses the smite. And it means that all the work that BLG's made to go for the Dragon is going to be all for naught. Blocks the 4th shot here with the Aegis, and now On is on the wrong side of the rift. Mako comes forward with the grand entrance and is getting followed up by Rookie. One more auto will do it. And IG get themselves another kill, and the Dragon handed to them on a silver platter. Elk now chasing down Mako. He has the bullet time to try to close it out, but he will not be able to find the kill. And BLG, just things are falling apart at this point.
BLG, Elk just flashed forward to get absolutely nothing. Been teleported for this, and they got nothing. I don't know what BLG are doing. This is the exact BLG that we had seen throughout the regular season. They're a little lost on the map, where they're taking way too many fights, and BLG now get punished. This might just be a solo kill.
Knock-up lands here on tonight. In comes that Grand Starfall from Beishwan, though, to make it a disadvantageous numbers game for the Shy. He's regenning very nicely with those biscuits, but he's on the wrong side of the map. Seismic Shove will do. L gets the kill. Number 2 on the game for the MF.
Am I allowed to say this is a good death? Because this is just going to be turning into Herald. And that'll mean that it is so much easier for IG to get to that scaling point. We've been talking about if you can give IG time, they can win a game. You're going to get a Zir to 2 items with this Herald and potentially even another turret, especially as a team that has some portion of these grubs. 6 HP, you called it during the fight. And the W coming on through from Wei ends up grabbing the Dragon. The rest of this fight is just so sloppy, and there is just no reason for BLG to step forward.
On the wrong side of things, he ends up going down. IG, not necessarily in a lead, but the way that the composition scales, the fact that
they
they're
are
at
now
this point right now, or 700 gold ahead at this point, you're going to be able to be happy about, right? You have Scion scaling, you have Azir and Jin that are going to be very strong if you get later on as well. Wei, just such a great facilitator in terms of finding just tons of crowd control with this Skarner pick, as well as being a big beefy frontliner. IG has the composition to play in the late game. They've had it for the last couple of games, but this time they're not 5,000 gold behind with 15 minutes. They're dead even.
And Rookie just got a complete side lane turret to himself. They use a Rift Herald mid, doesn't take down this mid tier 2, or it's mid tier 1, but it is very close to falling. And imagine that if they can find one more pick, if they can open up an area on the map, maybe that's something that they can look for. Knight does have ultimate, and Beishwan's going to have that Grand Starfall soon. Let's see if we can finally get BLG making some map plays with this combo.
Mako now in some trouble, but he's able to use the Grand Entrance to get away. Redemption going to heal him up as well. Just means a lot of more spells utilized by BLG will not result in a kill.
That's a mid-wave for them. They can use this to push into bottom side and cut Rookie off from getting items and gold here. Finishes his Rylai, so 2 items here now online. They've caught
now
Elk.
Elk is in some trouble. He gets impacted straight into the tower. And means that Gala is able to get kill number 3. Finally, the IG bottom laner getting involved in this series. IG have even up the kill count once again, looking for another one now on the base one. They find the Impale, but now look at the back line here. Gala's in a lot of trouble as Knight goes in with the Weaver's Wall and will be able to take him down. And now Mako trying to knock up Knight, trying to survive with the help of Rookie as he is still untouched on the back line, but so is Knight until he finally ends up going down. Bin and the Shy going at it in the mid lane as Rookie finally has that lethal tempo proc, issuing those Sand Soldiers down onto Billy Gaming, but Bin still hammering down onto the Shy and making sure that BLG do not get wiped in that fight.
Bin might be the only way that this team's able to win this game at this point. He is going to be a huge threat in this game, but everything else is collapsing, and Elk gets punished for that flash that we saw when he was chasing Mako in this bottom side brush. He doesn't have flash, gets tagged with the Deadly Flourish, and gets pulled in under the turret. BLG, they need to slow the game down. Yes, it is a time advantage that will go over to IG if they can get this to go later, but let's make a play on side lane. If Rookie is going to be on this Azir picking up waves, let's move with a Grand Starfall and Talia combo. It has just been completely desynced between these two, and it does allow you to make numbers plays, but I'd like to see some coordination coming in from this team. The only reason Knight gets that kill is because Mako ends up dashing over the Unraveled Earth. Otherwise, that should have just been a completely one fight here for IG, and they're going to start to threaten onto the Otacon. Don't think they have a lot of damage for this objective, but they have a pretty nicely fed Azir, so might be able to make it pretty easy.
IG has done really well about playing around this objective. They're one of the few teams that understand, especially when they're ahead or the ones to start the Otacon, like how to peel off of it, look for fights instead of just trying to throw all their resources into finishing the objective. And I agree with you right now. 2 full items on both Rookie and Gala. This is a great opportunity for them to go for that objective. They find the Deadly Flourish combined with the Impale, and Elk has to already flash away on the first casualty, but the bullet time going to separate the fight for now. The Shy coming with the teleport, but Bin is soon to follow. He flashes over the Estimating Smash, but he still gets shuffled right back in by Rookie, and stuck in a 1v3. Bin will not be able to find a damn thing as Gala picks up the kill. The Shy still looking to chase down the rest of BLG, forcing Phase 1 to flash away, and it's still a numbers advantage in the hands of Invictus Gaming with the Otacon up and ready for them to take.
They can't take this though. Way reset and it goes back. Are they going to keep this aggroed? Pushing onto the bot lane. Do they pull this? There's not enough TPs. Bin, huge mistake going into that fight. Flashes, teleports, and immediately gets hit with the Emperor's Divide, so he can't even fight. Like, you're going to maintain their gold lead, and there is a dragon. This is the second dragon of the game at 22 minutes. Grand Starfall. Why are we doing this replay? Observers, please! Oh my god, there's a fight!
He's going for something? No, Bishwan is in a lot of trouble as he gets critted by Gala as we go right back to the live client. Rookie going forward with the shifting sand knock-up plans here onto Elk, or onto Knight, I should say, as the Talia gets shut down and IG find 2 more kills.
I called an FF in this game number 3 very early on, but maybe not for BLG, okay? Maybe IG actually do got some fight in them. Should be their Otacon. Bin has ultimate again.
Yeah, he's back and ready to party, but not on, and not Bin either, as the Rookie is able to do so much damage, and Gala gets himself a double kill. That's a tower in the bot lane finally taken. Otacon will eventually go down, and Invictus Gaming just finding fight after fight after fight that results in them having a significant advantage in this 3rd game.
Well, if you can't love BLG in their game 1s and games 2, you can't love them in their game number 3 here. This is exactly the BLG that you've signed up for if you've been a fan of this lineup for 3 years now. It is all about fighting, all about trying to make sure that you can muscle your opponents out from objectives. These last 2 games, they got to do what they got to do around objectives because they had huge gold leads. This time around, they're barely fighting in this game. We had Bin teleport into this play, die, respawn, walk all the way back, and die again. This is exactly the BLG that you signed up for, and it is just a tragedy here in this game number 3.
I now understand why the observers went for replay, because there's no way Beishuan should have gone for that ultimate, as he didn't find any damage onto anybody, just died. Knight ends up falling as well. That's going to be the Otacon, as well as the numerous amount of kills going into the hands of Invictus Gaming, who again have a ton of scaling on their side. As Rookie and Gala continue to get stronger and stronger with each kill that they pick up.
I just been teleported in, flashed, died, walked back, died again. I'm not gonna say it's a caster curse, because these guys are just like trying to slam their head into a wall at this point from Billy. We said do it for the kids. I'm glad that BLG have some heart. They're doing it for the IG students. They want to make sure that at least they get a win here for Teacher Appreciation Day.
That is true. Hey, this is their duty to make sure that all the kids like playing League of Legends, right? If you want to support your team, they just get smacked. Why would I ever want to play this game, right? So if you're BLG, maybe technically use it.
We gotta go to game 5. We just need as
much.
much practice as possible as BLG. They're like, you know, we could do it. Like if we win some games on blue side, if we win a game, they won a game on red side, which I think is really important, because once we get into the last game of the series, if IG win the next 2, BLG will have access to blue side. And that could potentially be the breaker here in this.
Okay, here's the thing. BLG's composition is not meant for the full front to back that IG's is. I mean, you look at a Scion Skarner with an Azir Jhin backline, like that is a composition
certainly
meant
easier.
to stack up as 5. BLG are playing into that game by going through these big objective fights. So they're not using the semi-globals in the way that we want them to, and that I think is resulting in them falling behind and just not having any chance in these fights.
They're also just not getting many opportunities to do so, but they need a lot of lockdown. That coordination is so important. Can we get Elk, or can we get On and Beichuan to make sure that there are targets that cannot move so this bullet time is properly applied? A Baron is a perfect spot to let this ultimate let loose, so let's see how BLG play the rest of this map. There's not a wave for them to really play for on bottom side. Binny's going to pick this up for now. Might just be afraid because he doesn't want to be late. He doesn't have something like a Scion ultimate that lets him get here expeditiously.
Poking and prodding right now, but it does result in On getting taken down to half HP. The Baron is up, but IG do not want to start it just yet. Another wave down in the mid lane. Set the Sun Disc there to make sure that BLG have a very difficult time just maneuvering around the map, causing extra chaos.
It's Baron time now, buddy.
Of their players as they now turn their eyes towards the objective, or at least just clearing out vision around the topside jungle of the Billy.
Should just be their objective. I mean, you have a level 13 Skarner. You're going to also have this Azir ripping through it. It's up to BLG. Can we be creative? How are we getting into the pit? Got to also get Elk into position as well. Bin doesn't have a teleport flank. They're doing this in fog of war right now.
Okay. Blue Ward has the top, so they know now the HP, and when Beishuan might have to just flash in there and go for some sort of flip. Bin already dashing over the wall. It's going to be a 50-50, but it's secured by the crit of Gala before Beishuan can even get close to the Baron. He jumps over far too late, gets taken down by the Birdman in Rookie, and IG are wearing purple for the next 3 minutes and change.
They got it done. I mean, Rookie, remember, he got solo killed in this game. He got a dove again, dies a second time, and from then on out has played this game absolutely flawlessly, as we've seen BLG continue to flounder trying to find kills. And Impale from Way does not get anything. They go searching, they're looking, they're getting nothing. Let's just pull out, guys. We only gotta. Oh.
Okay, here goes On, forcing a flash out of Gala. It was a nice attempt, but it still will not find the AD carry of Invictus Gaming. But maybe Bin will be able to do so. The true damage, though, does not connect on the snip. That means that Gala will get yet another kill. Curtain Call not going to slow down Elk, but still IG have the Baron buff. They're going to get this mid lane tier 2 and continue to add to their gold lead.
This doesn't feel like the IG magic that I signed up for. This just feels like BLG are making it very easy for their opponents. 10,000 gold lead on the cusp right here for Invictus, and at least making this series a little bit more competitive. But I gotta be honest, Grapes, if we go into game number 4 and it is another BLG win, I feel like this third game will be for naught at this point. I need to have Invictus Gaming continue to show this level of poise.
Just a different look from BLG at this point. Not the same level of coordination like we saw from them the first few games. Credit it to champion pool, the draft, whatever, or just pure misexecution, which I think you could definitely attribute a little bit as well. But IG able to take advantage vitally. They're able to pick up this third dragon. They still have a minute and a half here onto the Baron buff. And it might take a little bit longer than BLG normally does to close out these games, but they are going to most likely be in a position to do so.
They got the third dragon. I don't even think we're seeing Soul at this point, Grapes. I've got to be honest. Like 3-item Azir and Jhin just makes this a tough sell if I am on the side of BLG. They're going to take one of the last outer turrets here. Still one sitting in top lane, but I think it is a mere formality at this point. Sundisk as well is going to continue to provide them with support from behind. And they have all of these wards. There's no flank possible here for BLG outside of using these Hex Tech portals. And love that they're utilizing this range.
Grandbuff still got one more wave to use both mid and bot. The towers actually haven't taken just yet. The pure siege threat for an Azir Jhin is not great, and so that is why maybe it's a little bit harder to break open the structures as of yet. Even though the gold is continuously trying to grow, they're just looking for the fight instead. And in goes Wei with the 3-man Impale, already Knight instead, and that should do it. 3 for nothing off the extended play, results in a double kill in for Gala. And with the inhibitor in the bot lane down, and only Bin and Elk left to try to save things, IG are making sure the sweep doesn't happen here in game 3.
Give them the win. Oh man, this is a really rough game from Billy, and kind of a heart crusher when you've seen the last 2 games, but we talked about it. They've got house money to play with here in this series, and it looks like IG are going to at least push us to game number 4.
A breath of life for Invictus Gaming, the best that we've seen them look today, as game number 3 against BLG will go to them in just over 30 minutes time off for the back of their big carries in Rookie and Gala.
A fantastic performance that started off rough. We came in, we're like, oh, this I was at least looking like this might be a 3-0. We were getting ready for bed. We were making jokes about you getting finally to get some rest, but not going to be the case, at least for now.
I'll take it. I'll take a competitive series, and if we get to see more games like that from IG, I'm all for staying awake. I don't know if our producer Adam is, though, as I heard some noises out of him.
Hey, his fault. I won't expose him for what was going on before we started this show, but okay. So a tough look here from BLG, but a very, very strong game, I think, from IG, who got some champions that we were worried about, right? Like, we're seeing Azir for Rookie that hasn't been good for most of the season. I feel like you do have this ability for the Rakan to be able to play, but we were trusting, is IG actually going to make it to a late game scenario? I feel like BLG kind of handed to them on the silver platter.
I mean, we just need to see BLG play not like that for this next game, and I feel like we can then have a conversation about how strong IG are. I think obviously IG played better this game than they did in the last game. You know, Wei able to match the farm of Beishuan finally for the first time, hold serve at the very least in terms of the first couple of clears, and then just give opportunities for their carries to step up as Gala and Rookie put up some of the performances that we were hoping to see from them going into this best of 5. But I can't help but think that a lot of the reason why that happened is because BLG just did not look the same as they did in those first 2 games.
No, and they got champions that are quite iconic for them, right? Like, just being able to have access to the Talia for a night, Gwen for Bin, a champion that in history has gone well for him. I think the matchups weren't played well. He even got the solo. We started off this game with both of the solo laners getting solo killed. That should have been the game at that point. But BLG mess up a lot of their objective fights. We saw extended engagements and more gold being given over to Rookie, which was part of the plan. Let's see if we can get this Azir up and running on 2 items and just win the game from there.
There's definitely some sort of hope if you're an IG fan that, you know, maybe this can continue going forward, but it's hard to say, at least for now, just given that BLG are going to have blue side here for game number 4 for the first time since game 1, as well as, you know, it's going to be hard for them to try to play worse than they did in the first few minutes of that last game. As we await for some of the highlights, our player of the game, I think we go towards Gala. I saw the fan vote most likely favoring him at this point on the Jhin. Had a great game on that one, but
yeah,
if you're IG, this is more of what you wanted to see.
And maybe their tendencies to win late game moments maybe also applies to best of 5s too. As we get later into the series, IG start to scale up. They start to really get in their bag. Maybe that's the plan here.
that would be, you know, that's a beautiful narrative that you just delivered. There's not going to be much data to back it up, but you know what? If it happens, then we can continue to praise it as we continue to go along as IG. They have the pedigree, right? International champions across the board for all 5 of their players, and so just that alone should be enough to you know, tell you that they're not going to be phased by, you know, the pressure of being down 0-2 in a series. They're always going to be able to lock in, feel calm, cool, and collected, and we clearly saw that happen here in this one.
I'm just so hesitant because we've seen so many essentially gentleman sweeps. You give one game over your opponent and then you finish it out. I need to see a resilient game number 4 here from IG, and I think the worrisome thing for me here, Grapes, is even if IG win this next game, you're just going to see BLG on blue side for now 2 games in a row after this one. Assumably, we're going to see BLG pick blue side for game number 4, and we've seen that blue side has been very, very dominant for all of our teams. So I think getting later into series, getting a win on red side is very important in series like these.
And BLG already have done it, right? They took game number 2 on that red side in pretty effective fashion, I could say, at the very least. If you get another look at some of these highlights again, just IG setting up their carries for success, right? A lot of the kills just ended up going into Rookie and Gala's hands by either coincidence or intent, and that is a recipe for success for this roster.
We got to see at least a carry performance from Gala and Mako. Felt like they were rather invisible in this series. We talked about the first 2 games, there being such a heavy focus from a drafting perspective about trying to get some, you know, better picks here for Mako. We also talked about coming into this game as well, like, is Misfortune really a champion that we really want to kind of stake our claim here and put ourselves in a position to play, because she doesn't have a ton of setup. There was no front line really for this team. You have the Rel and Misfortune, but aside from that, there's not all that much. This felt much like a pick composition here from BLG, and Elk had very, very little influence on this game, who I think has had big moments in this series already.
Yeah, not this time around. He was never put in the position for that bullet time to have too much of an effect, as 5v5 for IG, it was just better, and there were decisions that were questionable again coming through for BLG. Felt like maybe they were just a little bit too confident this time around, even, you know, without considering the composition of what IG had as well as the gold lead in certain situations, just feeling like they were forcing fights a little bit too much this game.
What a BLG way to lose this game, dude. Like,
just running it over and over again. That was 3 separate instances of them losing around that Otacon.
I love Otacon. Now, some might say Otacon caused that issue. I say that's just Billy Gaming, boys. That is another Thursday to a Billy fan.
BLG caused the issue, yeah.
Yep. Another Tuesday, I should say. But man. Sorry, the Thursday reference, all our NACL folks, if you know, you know. But hopefully the fans get to enjoy themselves, and hopefully we get our MVP, because I really, if the first 5 minutes didn't happen, it would have been Rookie in my mind.
Pretty embarrassing solo kill still. He's not going to be able to live it down regardless of his performance in that game. At least in some of our minds, as Knight still has had the upper hand in terms of just the individual laning power, right? And that's what BLG still are known for, but this time IG were able to withstand some of that pressure and be able to win around these objectives and eventually turn this into a Game 1 win. But it is just one out of the 3 in a row that IG would have to take in order to get that reverse sweep over Billy Gaming to move on into the upper bracket finals. I would give the MVP to Mako, or sorry, not to Mako, to Gala, just on the Jhin. He had 11 kills. I feel like it's pretty fair to him. He was positioning really well. But I feel like everyone on IG played pretty good this game.
There we go.
12 kills. Even better.
Nice. 2 MVPs for Gala here in the playoffs, and all things considered, you look at the rest of the game, outside of that early game, calm, cool, and collected. Exactly what we expect from Invictus Gaming, and at least striking blood here in this series. Not making it a sweep, giving us at least 1 game. I need to be... I want to hold out hope. I have these guys as a dark horse, not even a dark horse, as a favorite to win the split. So I need IG to pull through for me.
Can't go to bed just yet, guys. We got more League of Legends left to play. Will Invictus Gaming 4 silver scrapes for the 3rd time this playoffs, or is BLG going to run away with this one with their preferred side? We'll find out in just a few short minutes. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back here on LPL English. Welcome back, everybody, to LPL English. We have game number 4 of our first upper semi-final here in Split 3. Invictus Gaming finally getting on the board against BLG as your number 2 seed from Group Ascend. Looked alive for the first time all day.
Finally, but every one of these games has been a stomp. That's one of the criticisms that I know a friend of the broadcast, Jamada, has been complaining about, and the like of the community, is that Fearless has somewhat introduced some pretty one-sided games here, although I tend to disagree, especially when you look at just the quality and even beforehand how best of fives usually ended up being.
Yeah.
Depends, but here in this one, like these first 2 games, BLG are just slamming them throughout the early game. We get into game number 3, the first 5 minutes looks good. We get the solo kill in both of the solo lanes here for BLG, and then brains off, eyes red, just keep, if there's a champion within 100 units of me, I'm clicking on them, right-clicking on heads.
I mean, hey, you can't blame Fearless for this one. BLG got Gwen, Pantheon, and Talia and still got stomped in that game. So I feel like it's a little bit of the play that happened on the Rift here that results in IG taking the first step towards a potential reverse sweep. There's still, of course, a lot left to do. That starts with a win right here, this time on the red side, presumably is BLG. Most likely, after taking that first loss, will head back over there onto the blue side. And, you know, now that we head further and further down into Fearless, getting the high priority picks are going to become more important, and that's what BLG are going to have at their disposal now going back to blue side.
I think it actually comes into a really sick kind of situation where I don't think Nico is going to be getting through the rest of this draft, and the best enchanter that we have seen from On this year has been Karma. While I think that we have seen not as much enchanter play in this split, but we had glimpses of it from Mako. I think of a game that they played, I want to say it was IG versus WE, and it was Ash Lulu being played by Gala and Mako, and that was an incredible game to see because the Lulu just cuts off so many different avenues, and things like you were saying, a lot of the engage supports. I mean, we now have Rel, Alistar, Leona, and Nautilus out of the pool. Bard's gone. The next up right now is going to be Braum, right? And Braum's not like primary engage, so getting to these enchanters in game number 5, I think, starts to add a couple of wrinkles here for BLG's game plan.
And with the enchanters getting added into the pool, that also makes the AD carry pool change a little bit as well. You're suddenly looking at things like the Ashe, like you mentioned, Zeres, Sennas, Smolders, even something like a Lucian that could get potentially thrown out there. And those are all picks that I would love to see Elk and Gala kind of go after. I mean, we talk about the mid lane being the featured matchup here. The bot laners also definitely have been throwing haymakers at each other throughout this series. It was Elk who truly dominated the first 2 games, but Gala has proven to really be able to come up clutch throughout his entire career. Had a great game on the Jhin in game number 3. Would love to see him on a hyper carry here in game 4.
And Gala was a huge pain point for this lineup going into split number 2. I mean, he was a player that has just been, honestly, kind of on the downturn in terms of his career. Not making too many internationals. I think individual play wasn't at its all-time high. And split 2, we were kind of asking for heads to roll. We were saying, okay, either Mako or Gala has to go at this point. They're not playing well. This is a team that is bound for internationals, a super team in its own right. They need to step up or step out. And unfortunately, it was JJ. Seems like everything had been kind of copacetic after that point. Gala's been having an increased level of play alongside his support duo, and now we get to see, can Billy close out this series? Every single game from here on out is in a game that could potentially send IG down to the lower bracket.
And could potentially lock BLG up to at least the upper bracket of that regional final by the end of the year, putting them just another series away from qualifying for the World Championships, giving themselves an opportunity to try to improve on their second place finish last year. It's only one other position, of course, that would result so much for all the players that are on this BLG side that have come so close but never really reached that apex. If we start off our picks and bans of game number 4, once again, BLG back on that blue side. It's important to remember, going into this series, Hawk, we considered BLG to be the more inconsistent team and IG to be the one that's more stable. It feels like now things have maybe shifted back on its head, and I'm very curious to see if IG are able to find their form finally here as we've gotten later now into this series.
Xin Ban to me says that we might be looking at a Vi for Beichuan early. Would be a takeaway from IG and continue that chess battle that we have seen between these two teams. I think BLG have done a really great job of, I think, sniping individual champions in at least every one of these drafts once, taking them and trying to deny them from Invictus Gaming here in this series. There is that Morgana ban hitting the table yet again, this time in the first 3. What are we going to get? Sivir was banned early by BLG in game number 3. Now it's going to be the first pick for them here.
This is definitely something that can pair with an enchanter like a Karma here for On, if that is what they want to go with. A lot of directions for BLG with this Sivir locked in. One of the biggest tools that we don't talk about, maybe as much as we should with this, champion is obviously the wave clear is there, but the movement speed that it can provide with the ultimate to kind of just shift players and shift champions across the map is always a fun thing to watch. Curious to see how BLG decide to operate their team composition now with that in their pocket. The response for IG, there's that Vi that you were discussing. Varus still making its way into game number 4 of this best of 5 Fearless series, and this is a champion that has been very powerful all season long.
Yeah, Varus is a champion I think has fallen and it's going to continue to fall. We see the consistent nerfs to this champion throughout this year, and I think against a Sivir, it's a little bit dangerous. A blind Jace, I think, is more interesting to me because there are no tanks now, there's no Gwen, there's no Rumble, so what else are we going to be seeing from Bin? What matchup does he have into the Jax, or into the Jace? Is it going to be that Jax that I was just referencing? Or are you going to maybe try to take a neutralizing matchup, and it's going to be the Cassante here? So you're going to have a lot of stats, you're going to get kind of bullied around early on. We'll have to see what BLG can have, and if this Sivir is actually going to have room to ever plant her feet and auto attack.
Yeah, because already the point and click here for Wei, and then all the follow-up damage you can throw at it with this Jace could be pretty powerful here. Some more counter-engage or disengage on Billy's side with the Braum getting locked in. Another one of those melee supports. After this, you're looking at things like Tarek as the next champions up on the tier list. So definitely a powerful pick to get off the board for the remainder of this one and make sure that Mako is unable to get his hands on it specifically. See what the final pick is here in the first rotation. Rookie locking in the Ahri will make sure that the Shy is playing that Jace as we head into the second phase of bans.
So second phase, I think 2 champions that we needed to take note of: Akali that was banned in that second game or in that third game, and Sylas. Sylas having access to the Vi and the Ahri combo could be dangerous, and Knight is a legendary player on both of these champions. So already seeing the Sylas getting taken. From BLG's perspective, you might want to just get rid of some unpopular AD carry matchups. I know that we were kind of looking at what the support matchup might look like, but I think if you're looking at it from Elk's perspective, you do not want to probably be playing into a Senna as this Sivir. You probably don't want to try to play into things like a Lucian later on, but it seems like they're going to get rid of the Varus, all things considered.
It was hovered earlier in the draft, and again, the 80 carry pool definitely being pinched significantly here. So we take a look at what the final options could be. Looks like Beichuan going to be the target as well, with the Maokai getting taken away. Man, I'm just looking through like what potentially this mid jungle could look like for BLG, because even though game number 1 obviously went, or game number 3 I should say, obviously went IG's way, the first 2 games completely controlled by Beichuan and Knight. If we can get them a strong 2v2, that is how BLG have been able to win these first 2 games of the set. And so, just trying to think in my head, like, what could potentially be some matchups. My mind originally went to like an Orianna lane, but that was banned away by BLG. So still a lot left to consider here as we see what exactly Gala and Mako want to lock in on the other side.
This might be a time where you just pull out the Nocturne, but Beichuan probably is going to have to cook in this game. Zeri not a champion that we've seen from Gala, but did start to gain a little bit of priority towards the end of the regular season. I think teams starting to experiment a little bit, recognizing that 80 carry pools might get pinched as we get further in series for best of 5s. So what is the enchanter here for Mako? There's not a ton of support. You're going to be playing into a Sivir, which means that BLG should be able to have priority as this game goes on.
Lulu is a typical option here with the Zeri, but still, a number of different options that could be at IG's disposal, as BLG looking for a mid jungle to lock in for Beichuan and Knight. Beichuan had a ton of success on carry junglers in the first 2 games, specifically that Kiana in game number 2. Going to get another chance on one in the Nefiri this time around.
Just taking a look, it is going to be that Nefiri like you were mentioning. What is this matchup for Knight? You know that it's going to be the Ahri. Knight has been exploring counter picks. We saw that Game 5 Mel into the Twisted Fate, and we're going to get Lissandra here against the Ahri, a champion that has been, I think, slowly getting more and more powerful, has that ability to really lock down the targets, and I think is a strong way for them to stop what is a tankless front line from Invictus Gaming.
A lot of responsibility lies on Knight in this game. Not only is he the lone magic damage source here for his team, he's one of the main sources of just engage, right? He's going to have to go in, find either a massive, W stun after going in with a Frozen Claw, or using that Frozen Tomb to lock down somebody like Wei, like Rookie, like Gala. It's the typical Lulu here for Mako to round out their composition. They have a very nice comp overall, but maybe a little bit more on the squishier side, which somebody like Knight and Elk could take advantage of later on in this game.
Last time we saw Knight on Lissandra was 2023 Spring Playoffs. He was playing it into Yagao. It was a loss. Last time he won on this champion was 2022 Summer Playoffs. Very important for him to be able to pick up this win and to be able to close out this series. I think if you just looked at it, this is a very easy composition for BLG to play against, but things like Lulu could be very dangerous, the mobility from these champions, but they need to just find the burst. If they can cut out Rookie, cut out Gala, this should be a closed shutout game. Probably going to lose access to those grubs on top side, but Sivir makes things very, very tricky for IG to play against.
Very fun to see the true Fearless drafts shape the way the later games of these best-of-5 series go. We see teams go deep into their back pockets to find champions that they think can function properly. So now we see a Lissandra for Knight. One of the best mid laners here in the LPL on a champion he hasn't played in a couple of years, but has found success on in the past in a typical standard counter matchup. Whereas IG looking to try and keep this series alive by any means necessary. Game number 4 in our upper semifinal. Winner plays up against the winner of Top Esports and Weibo, happening tomorrow. And BLG want to try to make sure that happens to them with a Game 4 victory right here. Let's do it. Game number 4 starts right now.
It is a full arena in Shenzhen. And BLG, I would love to root for your opponents because I'm a big IG fan. I've been their biggest fan, I think, all year long. But we have to come back to why we have these little funky icons at the top. Again, Teacher's Day over in China, or for the 10th. And for the kids that are watching in the arena, we got to get them home. I went to a time zone converter. It is 8 p.m. They're elementary school kids. Now, it's a Tuesday/Wednesday, so still got school. Yeah, like it's bedtime soon, boys.
Bedtime for me too. I'm also in favor of this here, so.
That is true. As an East Coaster, I'm sure you are.
A little fun and invade happening here on the bottom side of the map for BLG, as we see Beishwan actually starting on enemy wolves. As Elkin On went down from the river to finally pick up a little bit of CS.
Oh, wait a minute!
They're able to get her here early, but Gala immediately has to proc the cleanse after the concussive blows stun him up. And that actually is a really nice trade done by the BLG bot lane. And now Wei's going to catch out Beishwan here. This could get sticky situation real quick.
Okay, getting the denting blows. Rookie is moving over. Probably just gonna have to dash over the wall. Could actually just go for a late invade and just be a little annoying Nefiri Glizzy Dog. Seems like that is going to be the case. The bot lane cannot move in this instance. So missing that second Darkened Daggers does make it a little bit more difficult. Honestly, this is beneficial for IG as Wei is already on his camps. Beishwan has to do the walk of shame back into his side of the jungle. And yeah. There we go.
Ultimate Beishwanvery, yeah.
That's definitely a stretch. That's a stretch.
I respect Adam for trying. Finding these puns, you doing the BLG standards. It has been ultimate bravery for Beishwan. True Fearless. Here, since he's been subbed back in, in Split 3, a new champion every single game that he has been involved in. And hey, he's on a carry again this time around. Not something that you would have really seen from Beishuan his first stint on BLG. And you can see he is not afraid to continue to be aggressive. He's only taken one of his own camps so far, but now
this again?
Wei is looking for a mid lane gank in response. But Knight able to walk away safely.
Knight should be fine, has flash, and does have the claw if he really needs it. It's going to be Wei that doesn't have too many camps. He knows that there's no Raptors. We'll see that there's a red buff available, and this might activate a like a map split here, because if I'm Wei, I'm saying, okay, he hasn't taken red, but he did at least one camp and invaded me. Where is he? Elk is going to come back and ward his jungle. Wei has no idea this is happening. Beichuan is going to recall. He's going to at least contest him on the Krugs. And yeah, and Wei is going to be completely out of this game. This is a masterclass from Beichuan yet again.
I mean, we thought that he was playing a little bit too aggressive, going for that early invade onto the blue, but it looks like he actually is going to be the one to have the last laugh, picking up a longsword off of that reset. He's going to be able to force this Vi away, taking the entirety of the top side. Beichuan is in a great spot. Look at all the camps he still has left to farm in his own side of the jungle.
Yes, like Wei, he got blue buff, Gromp, and then he started his Raptors. So that second camp that is on the top side, that is respawn Raptors. I wouldn't be surprised if we see BLG and Beichuan try to leverage the advantage that they have in mid lane to take topside scuttle and maybe go in for an invade.
Looks like they're going to say, screw the scuttle. Let's just get these chickens here. Beichuan has been spotted though.
And look at Wei!
But Wei just has nowhere to get, no availability to get to the Raptor pit. And Beichuan's going to just fight this one away. Might get a couple of the nuggets on the back end of things, but Beichuan's going to be very happy about how this early jungle stage has gone.
This is disgusting, and this is one of the ways that you can get around IG, is cut their jungler out. Someone who has to play bodyguard and usually play for his lanes. He has sacrificed his jungle pathing to make sure his lanes are stable twice now in this series. And Beichuan is running circles around Wei, which, I mean, you just look at the experience gap between these two players. Wei was literally tearing up MSI not a few years ago, and Beichuan has never left the region outside of this year. I think this is an incredible level of play that is hopeful to continue for BLG if they want to make a run here in the top end of the playoffs.
Having a great time against, again, the jungler that he ended up replacing.
That's true.
This time around. Hey, this time Wei able to take, or not able to take his own red buff because Beichuan stole it away from him. Now,
Yes.
able to take these Krugs, but he's just going to have to flash away. Elk's going
Get
to
me out of
follow
this
him because he knows that Knight is here. Not even able to get fully over the wall before BLG shut him down. That's first blood in the hands of the Lissandra.
If you want cope from a BLG, from an IG perspective, he got 2 flashes. So Knight no longer has flash, doesn't have the frozen tomb, there's no flash from Elk. Can Vin win this? Yes, he can.
Goes all out, forces the flash away from the shine. Nicely done here by the Cassante. BLG winning here on this side of the map as well.
That's that Vincente, baby. He got so much healing off of that Q3. He was very close to going down. The Shy doesn't end up finding that kill, but loses his flash. That could be dangerous, especially as Beichuan gets closer to level 6. And now they're activating the swap into Shy. This wave is, it should be pushing away from him, but I mean, there's a Sivir, right? You make sure that you're always going to be able to push this lane. Now let's see if Elk and On decide that they don't want to push this and try to deny experience.
Could be the possibility, but instead going to be IG going for the swap right back. You do get a plate here for Gala and Mako, and they'll be able to rotate into this dragon being started up by Wei. That is going to be a good sign for them, but jungle matchup, again, really favoring Beichuan at this point. Sure, they're going to be able to get this first neutral objective, but Beichuan is getting dangerously close to level 6 before Wei's even hit 5.
We've got Grubs at 45. Does Beichuan try to find another timer before he resets, get him closer to that Shojin that we're expecting? This is 3rd time respawn of Raptors. Beichuan is in no man's land. No one can connect with him. He knows that Mako, Rookie, and Wei are here.
Okay, he's able to just flash away, but here comes the rest of IG. The Spirit Rush and the Charm will finally punish Beichuan for his aggression. But now the collapse is here on to Mako in response. It's a 1-for-1 overall, but BLG get the kill, this time only onto their support.
Not a jungler, but I will say, He did get the second respawn Raptors there, so that might be worth. I might just be calling worth if I was Beichuan. And you're able to grab that kill. On the back end, all in all, IG, they do end up making that swap that we were talking about, and Gala has gotten a plate on the bottom side of the Raptor, the bottom side, and he also got the top side. So not feeling too bad if you're IG in the trade, but at least Wei is making some headway in this game. He's getting closer to level 6 and starting to catch up with these jungle camps.
And obviously with the Vi, as soon as you hit level 6, you will have impact in a game just because of that CC6. But Beichuan right now in a much better spot. It'll help BLG get their hands on the grubs as well. Goldie though, not as far away as we might have originally thought. You know, Gal is doing a nice job farming against Elkinon specifically. They've been able to utilize the double range matchup well, and the rest of the map pretty even across the board just in terms of gold. So IG, much like they were last game, in a relatively even position and in a nice spot to be able to potentially come back and really utilize their champions.
Searching. We got Frozen Tomb. Let's try to invade Wei on his jungle. Rookie's gonna have to TP, but he is out of mana. He's gonna be late to this fight. Beichuan does get pushed off. And that advantage that we're seeing in the bottom lane is because we've seen Elk and On move so many times to protect Beichuan's camps on the bottom side of the map. We're TPing the Braum. Wei is not allowed to touch his camps. Not at least with at least one BLG member contesting them on it.
Hey, he hasn't been able to take a red buff yet this game. It looks like that's going to have to wait just a little bit longer here. All 3 grubs have been picked up here by BLG. Wei, 0 red buffs, yes. For Spider-Man, no way home. By our
Bin's dead.
Staff. Bin is in some trouble. Gets a whole shock blast towards him. The Doran still keeping alive a little bit. He does have the ultimate though. Going to go all out onto the Shy. Not a lot of mana left onto the Jace. The Intofo strike doing a lot of work. The Q3 not going to connect. He flashes in, and Bin gets himself the solo bolo.
That's Bin Sante. Here's Rookie. He's going to clean this one up, but the wave has already done enough damage. Bin barely missing out on some Q3s there, but the minions end up finishing the job. Let's see how much more of these minion waves we can see from these 2 mid laners, because Rookie can catch this next one. But this is a wave and a half that Knight gets access to in mid lane. Maybe even just getting a swap here. Bin's going to teleport into mid lane. Knight is going to grab it. Wei has completely dropped the red buff because he thought his enemy team was going to take it. We take a look back at this replay. It is so dangerous here as Bin, because I think the Shy is starting to slowly outplay his opponent, but the Bin ultimate, man, like this Cassante ultimate gives so much Omni Fan fuel.
Yeah, I mean, all your stats get buffed, your damage, your healing, and you can see it right there. He didn't even really need a flash. I think he was maybe anticipating a shock blast coming through, but kind of ended up throwing it out. So Bin just getting a kill there, finally getting on the board here for BLG, is keeping this one pretty even game state at this point in time. Waiting for Dragon, farming about a minute's time, as the lanes have been reset to pretty much standard form.
You know, notwithstanding about the game, I really love these logos, man. Like, these like logos that have so much color in them. They're obviously like a little like tilted, like the BLG one is not like even with the name, but it's just refreshing to have this much color in the game, honestly. Yeah. I love it. And we're also off that disgusting Noxus map, so nature's healing. We're getting back into it. I love
the little soccer ball inside the BLG character here, you know. So elementary school kids, I wonder, I assume they were the ones who designed the logos, and they did a great job.
It would be funny if Bin is just standing over them like, hey, can you put something in there for me, please? Like, he's like sitting there giving over like details. The kid's like showing him the piece of paper, and he's like,
commission.
Can you do that again, please? It's a commission. He's commissioning students. This is great. We're teaching them entrepreneurial skills very early on. And as we get closer towards objectives, obviously Dragon's going to be spawning here now. And as we look at these team fights, the big focus for BLG in these games is going to be making sure that they can catch Gala out, because this whole team from IG has a lot of damage, but Gala is going to be that consistent DPS. And Sivir, it's not maybe not have the same range. She also won't have that same explosivity that a Zeri might have. And there's a lot of lockdown coming in from this BLG team.
He's gonna have a nice time dodging away from one of the most mobile AD carries in the game. I was wondering if we were going to see a Hexplate build from this area, but it looks like that's going to have to wait for just a little bit.
Not first item.
the
I would
decision.
report you if you're going Hexblade first. Hexblade first is tough.
I've seen some. I feel like I've seen someone. Maybe it was my solo queue game or something. Go Hexblade first side.
Whatever Slayer is feeding you, you gotta stop that. You gotta tell him no. No Hexblade first.
It wasn't Slayer. It wasn't Slayer. I'll tell. I will tell him.
All right. Well, Wei is invading on top side. Grabs himself the Gromp. Should be able to very easily get out of this. BLG did grab themselves that dragon, so at least going to be able to stop some of the dragon stacking that IG. We haven't seen either of these teams hold strong control of these objectives outside of those first couple games from BLG. So at least we're being a little bit more forthcoming that we know these series are going to go a little bit later and that objectives are going to be main stage of these games.
Starting to see first end completions for the members, for everybody kind of across the board here. I feel like both parties feeling a little bit more tense this time around. There's not as much aggressive going for random kills here and there. Much more stable, much more about rotating to get waves, to get turret plates, and make sure you're in the best possible position for somebody to
Well,
get
yeah,
far
Grapes, all the
on.
kids are gone now. You know, all the children are gone, so they're like, okay, now we can have all the boring games.
You think they left already? Foreseeing
It's
the
8
grand-
p.m. We talked about it. It's their bedtime.
I don't know. I don't know the culture about what the elementary school bedtime is in China.
Grapes is like, I would be a woke parent. I'd let them stay up until 10.
I slept until I went to bed at like 9 when I was in elementary school. I would get at least another
What
hour.
are they
in
doing
there.
to the kids, bro? Put them to bed at 6 p.m. like old people. Send them back to the mines. Well, we got Dragon spawning in 3. We got, more importantly, Herald in 30. So it is so much easier for BLG to move from mid and into this objective. It'll be interesting to me to see how they're setting this up, but I'm seeing Mako. Mako is nowhere nearby, and he's placing wards on the bottom side of the map, so he might not have control of the top side here. And that'll mean it's much easier for BLG to, again, push through mid and gain control of what is going to be this Herald pit.
In general, though, IG are kind of okay with playing a composition that, or with not being the second one to get to these major objectives because they have a lot of poke. They're able to, use this Jace and then potentially find a hard engage onto a main carry to start a fight with Wei on the system assist, but we'll see if that's the case. Herald has been started up by BLG. Elkanon here to take this objective. Here, Gala, Wei, and Mako hovering around the area, but here comes the Glacial Fissure, finding the knockup and immediately onto the Vi, and forcing her to use the Vault Breaker away. But all 5 members of BLG are here at the Herald first, and they should be able to take it down. But it looks like IG still want to go for the fight. Charm only lands onto Bin, and he uses the Pathmaker very nicely to make sure no crowd control goes BLG's way. The Winter's Bite lands onto Mako, in goes the Claw. They found the Glacial Tomb onto the Shy, but the Shy is able to flash away safely, and Wei is able to have the Wild Growth on top of him. Lin goes all out, but Wei is able to get away, and in goes Gala. He makes sure that Elk will go down before he does, and it's a 1-for-1 at the cost of the Rift Herald going BLG's side, and they're going to proc it to try to crack open this mid lane tier 1 turret.
We've got 3 grubs. They've done this in every single game. Overload on the one side of the map, grab yourself turret. It just happens to be that mid lane isn't in. Might be Mako up next. Has to use the flash to get out of this one. BLG playing aggressive, and it is again really tough for IG, who are late to that objective, and they have no tank here in this game. Vi stepped up, lost half of her HP, and it made it very difficult for IG to contest realistically. I mean, look at this, we're already late to the objective. Obviously, this is after this fight has already started, and look at how the fight gets split up. The Shy gets engaged upon, grabbing Wave go in, but lands onto no one, and Gala is hitting only onto Elk. I would consider that a win from BLG's perspective, even if they traded 80 carries.
Gala getting a kill is nice. Actually, the last proc of the Lightning Crash hitting on first before it bounced on to the Sivir to take her down. So yeah, BLG feeling pretty happy that they are able to break mid lane. This just gives them so much extra pressure across the map. The vision line already kind of shifting into IG territory for the help, with the help of On, especially around the bottom side with the Dragon spawning in about 20 seconds. So BLG going to be in a really good position to try to stack some of those Drakes up and get closer to the eventual Mountain Soul.
It's going to be tough for IG to play. This is a composition that really requires you to walk a fine line in these games, because you need to be able to use what is going to be an assassin Jace, essentially, with Yomu start and going for the Muramana afterwards. Wei is not going to have as many tanky resistances, but maybe gets augmented by a Lulu. Already getting damage down onto Wei. It's Dragon now up and available, and IG are going to start this, but you're going to have Kasante late.
Oh, On gets caught by the charm of Rookie, and that means that IG will get the first kill of the fight. Bin does not have any teleport, and he's on the top side of the map, so this is going to be Dragon going IG's way. A nice play specifically from the IG mid laner, Rookie on the Ahri, to find a pick onto On, and to make sure that IG are the ones to get this second trade.
Oh no, it's not going to get picked off here. They're going to go for a 4-man play on this bottom side. They're going to look to trade. Bin does have teleport. It is coming up now.
Knight still has his ulti, going to be able to buy a lot of time, using it to do a little bit of damage onto Wei. The Claw not going to be able to send him away, and that's going to be Zeri picking up the kill. Teleport does come in. The redemption in from On is just going to be enough to help Wei go down with the help of Bin, who now is able to go all out and get himself a double kill. But the charm from Rookie once again is true, and Gala will get kill number 4 of this game for IG.
That charm is really well placed there from Rookie, because it is when Bin is all outed, he has no ultimate. He has no stacks of armor or magic resist thanks to how ultimate kind of takes away those resistances. They don't end up getting the turret. BLG still have 3 grubs. Maybe they look to try to push here. Kind of tough, because usually with Sivir you want to use that boomerang blade and the all out or the on the hunt attack speed boost that you would get. But because there are champions nearby, you're not going to really be able to do that. You're going to generate some turret aggro. H1 is still absolutely pillaging jungle camps away from Wei. But I feel like the start of that, Grapes, was BLG being a bit greedy, because like you had mentioned, Bin had no teleport quite yet, so why are we even posturing around this objective?
Yeah, and then it results in obviously the first kill going over, and then Knight getting singled out and just dove for free, seemingly. And obviously, well, maybe not for free, as Bin eventually was able to teleport in and kind of salvage that play a little bit, but a situation that could have been avoided by just giving up the Dragon that you were going to lose anyway.
Yeah, the wave's also just nowhere nearby. I feel like if you're a Knight, you gotta feel you can stand a little bit under the turret. You don't have to completely give it up. You don't have very many ways of diving in. Vi does that while completely under the turret, she is dead for sure 9 times out of 10. So you got yourselves a lot of gold in this play. It was the trade of 2 for 2. The solo lane's obviously falling for the jungle and support of IG, but they got 2 turrets from that. They got top lane tier 1 and they got the bottom lane tier 1. Now they needed to have spent that gold and turn it into meaningful objectives. Knight has to finish his top lanes and recall, because he has, I assume, what's going to be a Shadow Flame soon for him. He needs to get it back and teleport into this Otacon fight.
Rookie finding a charm, but this time onto the Braum, which had the Unbreakable onto him. On not taking a single chunk of damage and already forcing Rookie to Spirit Rush away. The Otacon has been tagged, and Knight rejoined the fight with that Shadow Flame as you suggested. And Bin able to jump forward and make sure that he doesn't take much damage as well. BLG, with all 5 members looking to try and force a fight around the Otacon. They feel confident, up 1,500 gold at this point. But the damage from the Shy and Rookie will start to hurt unless BLG pull the trigger now.
The onus is on BLG, but the agency does not come from IG. They are not able to get into this fight, and Wei needs to find something.
Knight finds the stun. It's on to the Shy, and that's going to make him go down, but it comes at the cost of Beishwan. 1 for 1 overall. Here goes Wei with the season assist. Looking for Knight, looking for Bin, but the damage is too much on Elk's side, and makes it a 2 for 1 in favor of BLG.
The only reason BLG are not able to continue going forward is because Beishwan got caught out there. Bin doesn't show. Rookie's gonna walk straight into Fog.
He thought he was safe with the ward in there, but the control ward denies any vision of Knight. And that means that the BLG mid laner is able to take down his opposition. Rookie has had such a great game on this Ahri so far, but one critical mistake will yield his enemy team the Otacon buff.
That is a massive mistake coming in from Rookie, and that was the poise that we were looking for IG to have throughout this series. Eventually now finishing this one out, Otacon's done. They need to get a recall in and get ready to fight for Dragon, because the only way I see IG being able to fight out of this game is getting themselves a Mountain Drake Soul. You look back at this replay. A lot of poke damage. This is kind of what you need to do when you have an Ahri, but look at where Rookie is. Rookie's nowhere near this fight. Mako wants to flash out. If Mako can get access to a Mikhail's, that will be a big game changer for them going further in this game. At the disengaged from Way. There's no one to follow up. Rookie cannot flash forward. He cannot Spirit Rush forward because this is not available to him. He doesn't have access to the spell.
And when Vi's your only like front line and there's not much else to follow up on the engage, it makes it very easy for BLG to just say, okay, let's just kill the Vi that jumps in. And that's what's happened every time Way has attempted to try to make a play. Now, the plus side for Invictus Gaming is Gala on the Zeri. Looking close to that third item in the Infinity Edge. Not going to be available for a potential Dragon fight, so because of that, BLG going to be able to take that one for free. Getting more resources into their main carries has to be the priority for Invictus. They have to make sure that Gala is able to 1v9 these fights because that is the best opportunity for themselves in this series.
I called for them to go for the Drake. IG instead, they want to go towards top side, get themselves a turret in that lane, and get gold onto the Jace. As he is closing in on 3 items. I wonder what his third item is going to be. He does have a serrated Dirk. Could be an Edge of Night, honestly. I think that the spell shield is way too valuable when you see some of the champions from BLG.
There's the IE.
But there it is. Sivir versus the Zeri. 3 items here for Gala, and imagine that Elk is going to be very close to his third as well. Which does mean, Grapes, 55 seconds, Baron time, baby. And there's not a flash for Knight, same for his mid lane counterpart. And Gala and Mako are both missing very critical summoner spells.
Not having that flash means it's just a little bit easier for Knight to find the ulti onto Gala. And with that Mikhail's still not available for Mako, means that only the cleanse is at Gala's disposal at this point. There's so much more crowd control that can be thrown onto this Zeri afterwards though, and that's going to be the biggest problem. Invictus Gaming very much still alive in this game. Deficit is only about 1,000 gold. This is kind of the states of games, Alk, that we would see IG able to come back from in some of the turbo bangers that these two teams have played against each other during the regular season of this season.
But maybe I've just lost the faith, but this game, this draft in particular, isn't giving me that magic. Like, I think it is incredibly tough for IG, even with 1,000 gold deficit, for them to realistically fight. I think if you were to put computers versus computers and you take these drafts, I think that the way that BLG can play before this, what is, I hope to be a Mikhail's coming on through for Mako, is really tough for them. But maybe that item changes everything. Maybe giving Gala even more insurance policy, even if he doesn't have the cleanse, for them to play, gives them just that little bit more oomph in these fights. It's going to be BLG getting access to mid lane wave and top lane wave, so a single pick, a single chunk onto any member of IG could spell Baron for this team.
Yeah, with just the lack of frontline that IG have, a full 5v5 just straight up is going to be very tough for them. They need to utilize their poke, and they need to utilize their pick potential. The Viari 2v2. See right now, Rookie just fishing with these charms, has the Horizon focus as well. Not going to be able to find one on the base one. And BLG actually going to start up the Baron. Burn it down pretty fast with a 2-item Defiri as well as a 3-item Sivir.
Oh, there it is. There's a Scryer's Orb being used on it, so they know exactly where it is. It's going to be a teleport here from Tashai. We're going to get some good old-fashioned ARAM, baby. 4 members, and
nice.
Sivir does get a massive chunk thanks to Tashai. This Runon's Hurricane is making it a little bit more digestible, I think, for IG, that they can contest the Sivir on wave 3.
Oh, Wade going forward with the Vault Breaker, but Beishuan pops the untargetable at just the right moment. Ultra Shock Laser not finding anybody, but this is how IG need to play. Slowly, with the poke, with attempts at finding members of BLG picked off. They cannot face check any full 5v5 scenario at this point, so they will try to just regain control of this mid lane wave and hope that BLG aren't able to pull the Baron. And it looks like now,
that's tough.
Billy feeling a little restless. They're throwing out the Glacial Fissure and not able to find anything. And that's a key ultimate down on their blue team side.
I wonder if Rookie just goes down bottom lane and looks for it. I mean, he has teleport. We're giving up a lot of golden experience around the map. We're giving time over to IG to get some more gold here. BLG, they're going to have their support teleport back in. Doesn't have the ultimate quite yet. There's a charm now missing from the Ahri.
Collins positioned very aggressively. He still has both of his summoner spells though, so even that Frozen Tomb onto him should result in him staying alive. Oh, Rookie, he misses the charm! That could have been a massive play for Invictus Gaming, but instead, it is just going to be the flash and the ultimate used by the Invictus Gaming mid laner. and forcing him back to base. So a whole lot of NARM, whole lot of nothing for both sides.
Yeah, Elk and Gala both use their ultimates. I gotta say, Grapes, you know who that favors? I think that looks good for BLG here. No Lightning Crash available for Gala, and we're 40 seconds away from a Dragon. Baron's also up and available if they really want it. IG are trying to fight back here. Sivir's also going to be late to this play. BLG need to wait. There's another red buff that we're invading for.
They need to find somebody, but all of BLG stack up beautifully to make sure that Wait not have an isolated target to go for. So it's just going to be the red buff going over to Beishuan. And the Baron dance can begin once more.
Oh.
Redemption spots them out at just the right time, and that means that IG know that they have to make their way into the pit. But BLG are going to be very happy with that, as a 5v5 team fight is exactly what they're looking for.
They're trying to burn this down. It's already at half HP. Wei is tracked right now.
Baron's
His
taking
vision,
low.
great
Just
job
at
from our
4,000
observers.
HP.
Bin!
Bin with the all-out, going to try to send the Vi away, allow for Beishuan to secure the objective. That's Baron Nashor in the hands of Billy Gaming. The Wild Growth going to keep Wei alive. The Vault Breaker's out to safety, but that's in a big chunk of gold, a big chunk of an objective into the hands of the blue side, and they're going to immediately teleport Light in to continue the assault.
This was a fantastic split coming in from BLG, not only with Bin moving on forward. We saw that the Shy was nowhere near this fight because he was pressuring Knight, lost his flash, but then forced Knight to take a recall and teleport back in. Baron means that they're going to push on this bottom lane wave. I think BLG right now, all you are focusing on, because you know IG are recalling, get back into waves and let's get gold back into your pack pockets here, because we spent the last 3.5 minutes on this mid wave.
Oh man, yeah, not the best here for IG. The fact that they spent so much time trying to prevent that Baron from going down, and they weren't able to do so anyway. Not only that, at Soul Point in the hands of BLG as well. They are on match point. They have the Baron buff, and they're looking very good to try to continue to break this game open and send themselves into that winner's finals. And IG have their time, but it's running out quick.
I need Mako to finish this this second item, man. This is honestly like, I need it like air, bro. Just give me a McHale's. If it's not a McHale's, then I don't know what else we're building in this instance, because this is the only way you're going to be able to keep Gala alive and make sure that he can really fight with impunity in these team fights. It's going to be Wei right now trying to find some jungle camps on the top side, invading the enemy team. You're going to protect the mid-tier one, but this is still just BLG using those 3 grubs and the Baron at their backs. They're going to get 2 turrets for this at the very least.
Wei, he's trying to clear like a topside scuttle crab or something. He's so separated from the rest of his team.
He got the blue buff and that's it, man. He ran out.
Source of engage here for Invictus Gaming, but
Gala
Gala's trying to flash forward anyway. He gets knocked up, he gets stunned, but he's able to get one back before he finally ends up going down. Meanwhile, Wei went down to Beishuan on the backside of the fight in the mid lane. So it's overall a 2-for-1 in favor of BLG. And now it's only 3 members of Invictus Gaming left to try to defend their base. The Antopo strikes lands on the Shy. He is separated from the rest of his team, and Bin goes all out.
That's
and
it!
Sends the Shy into the dirt. Only Rookie and Mako survive, and that's not going to be enough to try to stop the end of this game and the end of the series.
Billy found their mark in IG, tried to pull the trigger a little too soon. A base defense turns into the end of the game.
Rookie has to do his damnedest to clear the wave, to take out anybody on BLG, but it just will not happen. It was a clinic here in Game 4. An easy series win for BLG as they upset Invictus Gaming and move on to the winners finals.
That is incredible. A series that almost nobody thought IG were going to lose. BLG handily throw them to the dirt and throw them down into the lower bracket. Easy MVP here for Beishuan in this game number 4. God, he gapped the living hell out of Wei. The things that we saw, not only in this game, but in multiple points throughout this series. I think BLG fans can be a little worried about Game 3 and parts of this last Game 4, but nonetheless, domination throughout this series. And like you said, going into the upper bracket finals here for Billy.
Securing themselves top 3 in the split yet again. Of course, they were second in split number 2. And just one series away from making sure that happens again is BLG. And for Invictus Gaming, I mean, that's their first, that's a 7-series loss streak or win streak for them. They had been cruising until they ran into BLG, And this was a matchup that they were able to handle for the first 2 times throughout the regular season. But you know who's different in terms of the 10 players on stage is that guy right there in Beishwan. He came in and made sure that BLG had the same results against IG like they did in split number 2.
That was the joke that you kind of came in with, that BLG only beat IG when Beishwan was on the roster. And so maybe Beishwan just got that sauce up against Wei and the rest of Invictus Gaming. Across the board, I feel like IG were a little hesitant to make plays. It is kind of a hallmark of their style, but I don't think the draft gave them very many angles, as we discussed throughout this game. I know jungle is a big difference. Rookie cannot have series like these if this team is going to go far. It's not even a guarantee that they'll be able to make it into Worlds. At this point with their point totals, they are likely locked for regional finals at the very least, but like this is not a good look if this is what we're going to get from the rest of IG now.
Yeah, really falling flat for Invictus Gaming as we were hyping up this mid lane matchup, right? Knight versus Rookie, so the best mid laner currently in the league versus one of the legends here on Invictus Gaming's side. But Rookie just ended up getting gapped a lot of the time by Knight, getting solo killed in 3 out of the 4 games. I will say I liked the looks that he was finding on the Ahri, but it wasn't enough to help his team win that final game. And so back to the drawing board, IG have to go, and I'm very curious to see how the rest of their playoff run does look like, as this is the first time that they've been stymied, have been stopped in quite a while.
A tough look for IG, and one that might just be a bitter pill to swallow for them at this point, considering that they, like you were saying, were kind of going on a run here. It does mean that Billy, if I take a look at the other side of the bracket, they should be moving down onto the other side. So they'll be going up against the loser or the winner of Anyone's Legends and Ninjas of Pajamas. That'll be played on September 14th. So I'll have at least 5 days of rest in between now and then. But that just means that they only have 1 life now for the rest of the tournament. One that could have happened today, right? Like, we came in, we're saying BLG are not favorites in this, but I mean, anything's possible in these brackets. I don't know, like, you always, I think you can't always count out BLG, especially in playoffs.
I mean, it did not look good for them. The first series, even the first couple of games of that series against JDG, and somehow, as soon as Beishwan steps in, things start to look up here for this squad. It's Billy Gaming looking poised to kind of re-emerge as a true threat here in the LPL playoffs, and that's honestly the most important thing, the fact that all these teams can find their peaks at the right time, and that's going to be a really fun story to watch. Shout out to the elementary school representing BLG, as well as they get their club a victory here on the day before Students' Day. I wonder if, you know, Teachers' Day is tomorrow, I believe. It's
yes.
the 10th, so I'm curious to see if we get some cool logos for TS and Weibo tomorrow.
Also means that the kids do get to go to bed vaguely early. They go more on the Grapes timeline for bedtime. It is 9 o'clock, 9 p.m. Not a bad time. So, I mean, Gala had such a good game for most of this, but I feel like he really had to squeeze in this game. I mean, it's hard to play Ahri when there's a Braum on the enemy team already, and kind of being the only consistent DPS on your team means that if you have a Lulu, you are allowed to step up. I just want to take a look at this last fight. This last fight is completely a backbreaker for IG. Gala flashing forward. I really wonder, this is one of those moments where being a remote broadcast and also being essentially a co-stream of the LPL, I wish I had access to like the in-game client, because I wanted to see how close Mako was to finishing his second item. I really, truly believe if they waited just 30 to a minute, you might just have your Mikhails and then allow Gala to have moments where he's allowed to flash forward.
Just didn't get there somehow. I mean, might be a victim of the pink ward syndrome, where you just keep spending your gold on the control wards and then run out of gold for the items. Here's the last fight again. Scala really doing his best to try to one-shot Elk. Doesn't have enough damage. He flashes forward and just gets completely obliterated by this Lissandra.
And then there's just no damage, right? Like, Rookie's only 2 items. He is playing with the buffed Horizon focus, but all of your poke is landing into a Braum Shield, into a non-all-outed Cassante. So IG were on a timer here. They needed to make things happen in the early game. Wei got completely jungle gapped here in this series, and especially in this game. I just want to see the Beichuan MVP. I think it is such a magical story, by the way, that a player so maligned by the community comes through game 2 of a series that they were about to get 3-0'd in, makes it happen in a reverse sweep, then keeps pushing. A player that has been missing all of Split 3, and Beichuan, an unlikely savior here for Billy.
And again, this is the player that we didn't even realize was like eligible or healthy enough to play in the postseason here for BLG, or just at all. I personally was kind of going in with the assumption this playoffs that it was going to be Shadow all the way. There was no option here to sub in Beichuan, but now that it has happened, you know, we'll see how far they can ride this. Maybe they want to utilize a 6-man roster. I don't know how exactly that would end up working out, but now the world is BLG's oyster. They are able to lock themselves into top 3. They're in winners finals. They have 2 lives to try to claim yet another LPL trophy, getting Knight over that hump. But he's actually the one to win the MVP here. I don't know how much I would necessarily have voted for him, but he did have some
capped
nice
Rookie so hard in the past games that they had to give him a retroactive MVP.
You know what? Respect, fair enough. This is for the solo kill in game 3 that they weren't able to give it to him for.
Yeah, tough one here. A great MVP going over to Knight. Look, I would love to give Knight a bunch of MVPs if I could. Again, the most represented mid laner in all pro votes. He is getting up there when it comes to MVP. He's only currently 2 MVP votes behind Doinby, who is currently the leader at 5. Let's go. Let's go. This makes this playoff so much more exciting. Can you believe, by the way, producer Adam, do we have the bracket up, ready to go? Because I want to look at this. Can you believe, Grapes? IG and AL are already in the second round of playoffs in the lower bracket. And we're going to have either the defending split champions or this IG hopeful super team not even make it out of top 6.
The bracket is brutal, man. I mean, that's AL's fault for losing, obviously, but geez, it's gonna be a fun one. Right now, we don't even know if AL is gonna be able to be an NIP at this point because they have looked very shaky so far. Our Group Nirvana teams have the chance to do some really incredible work down there in the lower bracket. They need a win at the very least in these series in the next couple of days to keep their chances of going to Worlds alive, where, you know, AL probably going to make it to the qualifiers no matter what, but, you know, they don't want to just make it to the qualifiers. They want to win the split, and that has definitely been hampered, and we'll see if the matchup against you know, IG ends up happening, because that's going to be just really exciting.
A really, really incredible series, and hopefully one that gives not only the fans, but us here on the broadcast a little bit more faith in BLG, taking down an unexpected win over IG, and having those shades of previous form. I mean, just 3 hours ago, we were watching Knight literally solo kill Rookie at the 7-minute mark, and then that got repeated multiple times throughout this series. I hope that this is the BLG that we're going to see in the rest of the playoffs.
If it is, well, we're in for a damn entertaining postseason, and we'll see if IG can bounce back to the way that we saw them look towards the end of the regular season as well. When all the teams in the LPL are at their best, that is where the league is at its most entertaining, and we sure hope we get there over these next couple of weeks as we wrap up our 2025 broadcast schedule. Before we leave, got to give a big shout out to our Elite Coffee supporters, Aaron Soupmung and Forrest Without. Their pledged financial contributions help level up the broadcast and give back to the casting crew who strive to give you an English LPL broadcast every single day. Once again, final score here, Billy 3, Invictus Gaming 1. Make sure you tune in tomorrow, same time, same place, twitch.tv/LPL English for our second upper bracket matchup between Top Esports and Weibo Gaming. On behalf of our producer, Rare Adam, my color commentator in Alk Battery, might have been Grapes, thank you so much for tuning in to LPL English, and we'll see you all here tomorrow for more.